one other item. Be good enough to leave a message for Mr. Wells from me. Tell him I want that key.
Key? I don't have it with me.
They say time is the fire in which we burn. Right now, Joe, the time is now.
Todd, why do you keep talking about time and quoting Malcolm McDowell from Star Trek Generations?
Because we're here to talk about time in the movie Time After Time, starring Malcolm McDowell.
And speaking of Star Trek, written and directed by Nicholas Meyer. So we're going to talk today about, I think, a hidden gem from 1979.
A little forgotten gem.
I'm always surprised when people actually know this movie.
Yeah, I would put this in my top 3 of time travel films.
I would too.
It's also one of those movies that it's hard to, it doesn't pop up. You don't see it broadcast. You don't see it pop up in the streaming. But it's good. And it's entertaining, so I don't know why it's not something that just everybody sees all the time.
Which is ironic because it's one of those movies that was constantly on cable and HBO in the 80s. That's how I first saw it. It's got some dated elements to it, but it's still a fun movie.
Yeah, it holds up as just an entertaining, and let's say time travel, because time travel stories, time travel movies don't always work.
No.
Yeah.
And this has got some flaws in its own time travel rules that it sets up.
Yeah.
But it still manages to be fun, and you can follow it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the fact that they've got H.G. Wells, who wrote The Time Machine.
It's a great twist.
It's like having him as the protagonist is just brilliant.
Wells was like an avowed socialist.
Yeah.
It's a clever idea to thrust Wells into a future where he thinks socialism might exist.
Yeah. And I think that's downplayed in some parts of the movie, but I think Wells's kind of feminism in his free love aspects of socialism it's there in his kind of interactions with Amy, played by Mary Steenburgen.
The last thing I did was a series on free love.
Free love. Jeez, I haven't heard that term since the 8th grade.
I want to focus on the director real quick. So, Nicholas Meyer, was this his first movie?
Yes.
He adapted his own novel, 7% Solution, which was 76, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
It's a Sigmund Freud, a real person, but having to kind of work with Sherlock Holmes and Watson. It kind of taking 2 disparate characters, kind of like this takes Jack the Ripper and H.G. Wells.
I also think that Myers has an affinity for the Victorian era.
Yeah, I'm not of the Trek material that either you are, but I think most laymen know that Meyer saved the franchise.
Several times. Star Trek The Motion Picture, as much as I liked it, it was very cerebral.
Yeah.
Science. That's what I like about
driven.
it.
That's why I like it. And I think people wanted a more elements of the Star Trek series that made it fun, and that people got more into the characters and their relationships better. Yeah. You mentioned saving the series.
Yeah.
He did it with Star Trek The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
He also wrote the Whale movie, which is by far the most popular Trek.
Voyage Home.
Which this movie has a lot in common with.
And then they brought him back after a very shitty movie, Star Trek V.
Directed by who?
Directed by William Shatner. They brought Nicholas Meyer back again, who helped write it and direct Star Trek VI.
If there is to be a brave new world, our generation is going to have the hardest time living in it.
What I'm saying is that Nicholas Meyer is responsible for the best Star Trek movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
And either critically or financially successful.
And briefly, I know we're talking about film, but he directed a made-for-TV movie in the 1980s, which was kind of seismic. The Day After.
That movie fucked me up.
Gen X has nightmares about it.
I'd like to see that again.
Yeah.
It's about nuclear war, folks.
Yeah.
You know what I always remember about that movie? We lived in Pleasanton, California, which is in between the Lawrence Livermore Labs and the Berkeley Labs. And I just remember like being totally freaked out by it. I remember my dad saying, "Don't worry, if there's a nuclear war, we'll die instantly."
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
It's catching, isn't it? Violence.
I'm not sure what happened sometime in the 90s. He, I think, has an original voice, but I don't know why he's not able to, to do more, because I think he is a talent.
There are some interviews you can see on this director, certainly I think Star Trek II probably, about how he struggled with staying on time and on budget and they almost yanked him.
And maybe dealing with certain personalities. I
Yeah.
heard he worked well with Montalban, but I think Shatner, there was a lot of issues.
He's an eccentric guy, maybe a little socially awkward at times.
But at the same time, you have to give Nicholas Meyer a hat tip for this, because he's the one who basically cast Malcolm McDowell, even though other people wanted Malcolm McDowell to play Jack the Ripper, Dr. Stevenson.
That would have been like the non-creative choice.
Malcolm McDowell could have been typecast. He played a lot of kind of villainous, iconic roles in the 70s and at that time. He played Alex from Clockwork Orange.
Malcolm McDowell was the Generations star.
They say time is the fire in which we burn. Right now, Captain.
Here he's playing this kind of very sunny, optimistic Victorian.
Which I really like. He's really good at that.
Thrust into the 1970s, who actually is trying to, be equals with Amy and also understand the modern woman, but also just trying to right the wrongs of his so-called friend.
So good segue, Joe, because let's dive into the cast. Malcolm McDowell is H.G. Wells. It also stars David Warner.
We should say he's playing Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
David Warner's Jack the Ripper. The leading lady of the movie is Mary Steenburgen.
She is great. What a crush I had on her in the late 70s, early 80s. I think everyone did.
She's also very horny in this, and we're going to talk about that.
She's very horny.
And Mary Steenburgen did one movie prior to this. Jack Nicholson liked her in the audition, hired her for Going South, his directorial debut. David
Warner had been around.
Yes. He's an esteemed company. He's one of the few actors that did like 3 movies with Peckinpah. He was in The Omen just before this.
The Omen.
And also Time
Bandits. He was also in Tron.
David Warner was a big fixture in Star Trek.
But he's in the ones that Meyer did.
He's also in Star Trek 5.
Star Trek 5, he is forgettable, Joe.
I know.
Completely forgettable.
Everybody is in the movie is forgettable, and the story is forgettable.
He's the Klingon Chancellor who gets assassinated in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. And Warner was also great in Star Trek The Next Generation as the Cardassian interrogator in Chain of Command.
There are 4 lights.
David Warner's actually in the biggest film from the 1990s, Titanic.
Oh, right. I always forget
He
he's
plays like the valet to the Billy Zane character. He's villainous in there.
He's a valet and a henchman.
He's a villainous valet.
San Francisco, California. Of course. 8 hours difference.
It's one of those movies that utilizes San Francisco perfectly.
It does.
San Francisco is the backdrop, and
it's a character in this movie.
So let's dive into the plot. So I love the way the opening is set up.
Begins in Victorian London.
1893.
You can tell it's a soundstage, but it looks good.
But it looks slick.
Malcolm McDowell said he was kind of honored to be filming on the same streets, the same fake streets where they shot Singing in the Rain.
You're meeting right away Jack the Ripper.
We're in his point of view.
You don't see him.
I thought he would hate, by the way.
I know.
I don't like point of view shots.
Yeah, when we've done films and stuff, you've never liked point of view.
And the thing is, this was before that was overdone. Point of view killers is been done to death.
But then, 79.
It was not really a thing at that time.
So you're in the eyes of Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And he has a victim in his sights.
And the movie wastes no time getting right to the plot and the story.
She's murdered.
But he also has a pocket watch.
Yes. Kind of a music box /
And it's his mom, right?
Yeah. Then they cut to H.G. Wells, the kind of famous science fiction writer.
Did H.G. Wells live in Whitechapel?
No, but I think this Whitechapel was very notoriously rough at that time.
Yeah, so I can't picture H.G. Wells living there.
I know it's a contrivance. I get it. Everyone there of his friends is there except Dr. Stevenson.
He's busy killing somebody.
Yeah, and so but then
they're setting up actually Wells's socialism and they're all his philosophy.
He's a utopian socialist.
Yeah. This movie does a good job of establishing who he is.
Yeah.
But then you immediately meet David Warner. There's, I don't want to say, is it competitiveness?
They play chess. Stevenson beats him every time.
But it's more than chess.
Yeah.
He looks down at Wells a little bit.
There's a class thing because, H.G. Wells came from the lower middle class, working class. Yeah. And he was all about education is an equalizer. And you can tell Stevenson is of the upper class. He's a doctor.
He thinks his views of socialism are just total piffle.
Yeah. He has all his esteemed friends at the dinner. He's like, and after dinner, he's like, I'd like to show you my biggest thing that I'm working on.
My masterpiece invention.
Somehow, H.G. Wells, besides being a prolific writer, is also an inventor.
I mean, he wrote The Time Machine, so there is something that maybe he with his spare time.
Yeah.
It works in this movie.
So it works. And at the same time, I'm not going like, this never happened.
And I like the time
Yeah,
machine.
yeah.
I like the way it looks. It's
Yeah.
simple, but I like it.
And it kind of looks like the time machine from the Rod
looks
Taylor
exactly
movie.
like that.
He's kind of explaining the kind of mechanics to his friends. And he kind of,
he establishes the time travel rules there.
but he also tells like this special kind of plot device too. The key.
This key to countermand the device.
Without that key, then, the thing's a bloody homing pigeon.
If you
It's a
leave,
little confusing.
If you leave it
if you
in
leave
the
it
thing, it will
inside,
go back.
It'll go back.
Yeah.
Which is what Stevenson does.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
yes.
This is the vaporizing equalizer.
But there's also the other device, which only exists for the ending of the movie.
Yes.
Without it, the passenger journeys through time without the machine. And without the machine, there is no coming back.
Wells is very confident that this time machine works, but he also has never used it or tested it.
And
Yeah.
H.G. Wells himself admits,
Yeah.
I haven't mustered up
The courage.
the courage or
Yeah.
the nerve to test it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, it's a flaw.
Yeah.
How does he know it works if he's
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
tested it?
So police arrive.
Yeah.
They're looking for Jack the Ripper.
They find the medical bag in the closet. And
Stevenson's medical bag.
it's filled with bloody tools.
He didn't throw those away.
They didn't
he
throw
put
them-
them in a bag.
So the cops are like, this guy Stevenson's fucking Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
So Wells realizes that Stevenson has stolen the time machine, which was set for 1979.
Like a good wine, you have to choose one of vintage years, of course.
What year is this?
Well, it's 1979, actually. More of a table wine, shall we say.
And because Stevenson left a homing key in the machine, it suddenly returns to his cellar.
So now Wells musters up the courage to go after him, not just to protect history, but to stop a killer who's been unleashed on what he thinks is a future utopia.
It should be a clue to H.G. Wells that he's awakened to a dystopian future because the first thing he sees is Corey Feldman.
Mommy, who's that man?
Jason, come away.
If any of you were worried that Corey Feldman would not be in this movie, rest assured,
He's in it.
he's in it. When it shows up in 1979, it's not London.
Yeah.
It's San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's in a museum. It's a museum that focuses on H.G. Wells. Isn't he inside a device that was already there as part of the museum exhibit?
Yeah, there should be 2 time travel machines there.
Occupying the same space in this situation.
It's the same problem I have with Back to the Future
I know.
Part 3. There should be 2 DeLoreans there.
And to add to this plot hole, at the end of the movie, the time machine completely disappears when they leave 1979.
So was the time machine part of the exhibit or not?
And are the museum employees the next day going to be like, the time machine's been stolen?
Probably.
What's the museum that it's at?
Well, the exterior is the California Academy of Sciences. And fun fact, that's where my friends and I used to go see the Pink Floyd Laserium there.
He doesn't realize where he is, what city he's in. It isn't until he looks at the newspaper vending machines and sees that it's San Francisco.
And when he was establishing how the time machine works,
Yeah.
he says it never actually leaves the space, only time.
Yeah.
So then why did it go from London to San Francisco?
San Francisco is a better place to explore his utopian ideas of free love and everything. That's
All right.
the only reason.
They have some other things of him going to McDonald's.
Big Mac, an order of fries, and a small Coke to go, please. Give me a Big Mac, fries, and tea to go, please.
He thinks it's a Scottish restaurant. This is the first comparison we're going to make with Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The fish out of water scenario
In San Francisco.
He's traveling through time. And he lands in 1979. There's a similar, like, sort of surreal psychedelic scene where, like, he hears, like, the newsreel footage.
Yeah.
he's walking in the streets, not used to seeing cars. He's almost hit by a car.
Cars.
The people out of time selling their wares at a pawn shop.
Yeah.
The Jillian character, who's the marine biologist in Star Trek IV, is basically the same character as Amy.
Yeah.
Only not as horny.
He goes to a pawn shop to
He's
get.
the jeweler.
He's the jeweler, but there's an interesting kind of thing. Like he's discovered world wars. That there's
Yeah.
been a World War II. The pawn shop clerk or jewelry store has concentration stamp
Which he
and
doesn't know what
numbers.
that is.
They don't dwell on it, but like he doesn't comment on it. But
doesn't
like
know what it
but
is.
we're supposed to kind of like, oh wow,
We, as viewers, know
yeah.
what it
And
is.
in his mind, this utopic vision, they've already gone through 2 world wars. So
It's slowly chipping at his views.
Money, yes. Everyone needs money.
We'll get even more into that when he runs into Stevenson.
But before that, there's a nice shout out to atheism.
Wells was famously an atheist. It kind of came hat in hand with socialism, that, it was depriving the poor, religion. He goes into a church to kind of seek sanctuary because there's no place to stay. He's homeless virtually. And so he just goes to a pew and he says, I don't believe in you, but he goes, I'm just looking for a place to stay.
I'm sorry, we're closing now.
I love that.
It's so funny.
The next big plot point here is he has to figure out the path of Stevenson.
Where he is.
Let's go to a bank. The reason he's going to all the banks is that Stevenson would have taken currency he had at the time and tried to exchange it.
He comes upon the Charter Bank of London,
where we meet
Mary Steenburgen as Amy. He comes to her first, asks, where can I exchange currency?
She immediately takes a liking.
Yeah.
We should establish here that she's very cute. She's very sweet. She's also very horny.
Yeah.
You immediately establish kind of the connection, which I think they have great chemistry.
I think the main reason
It's
why
one
this
of-
movie works.
So,
one of the strong points.
he's kind of talking to her. It just kind of occurs to her as he's talking, like, has there been a gentleman like me who's come into this establishment? And he's dressed like in a Victorian suit. She tells that I directed him to the Hyatt Regency.
In the Embarcadero.
So he goes down to the
Regency.
the Hyatt Regency, which is kind of famous from Mel Brooks's High Anxiety. And it was of the time kind of a futuristic looking hotel.
Hasn't
It's
Chris been to that Hyatt?
I have.
Yes, he was there for his senior ball. Didn't you go there?
I did.
Joe,
Yeah.
is that where Chris got it?
It did happen after. But I digress.
I bet he edits all of that out.
Keep in mind, he was in high school. I mean, what else are you going to do?
We must add detective to your list of accomplishments. Your regular Sherlock Holmes.
This might be one of my favorite parts of the movie.
He's kind of shocked to see that Wells has tracked him down.
But he kind of knew.
He knew because he remembers that he has the key.
Stevenson acknowledges Wells is actually, he has been successful in his
pursuit,
achievement.
He actually has new respect for Wells.
He has new respect for him. I also really like the fact this is what brings it home, introducing a bitterness to Wells and his vision of the future. But he says, you don't belong here.
Yeah, you don't belong
he
here.
says, how wrong you are.
Yeah.
And Stevenson turns on the TV. Let me show you something. And he just starts flicking channels.
Very convenient that there's all these horrible news stories on the TV.
And
turns it on.
I belong here completely and utterly. I'm home.
Wells naively thinks, as a gentleman, he will go back in time with him.
Yeah.
So a chase begins between Wells and Stevenson.
Yeah, and I really like the way that chase takes you through different parts of San Francisco.
Yeah, they run all over like the Embarcadero.
Stevenson gets hit by a car at the end of the chase.
Massive crowd kind of encircles him. Wells can't get to him.
Yeah.
And so then they take him to a hospital.
This is another plot problem for me because he walks in and they tell him that there is no guy that was hit by a car.
Yeah.
They say there was somebody that was hit by a car and he died.
But it wasn't Stevenson.
But it wasn't Stevenson.
It wasn't Stevenson.
Wells doesn't know what to do, so he decides to find Amy.
Hello. You decided to let me take you to lunch.
She's horny as
She
hell.
is. So not only is she going to finally satisfy her horniness, Joe, she is itching to get
I know.
So basically the friend's like, go ahead, take your long lunch. She leaves work. She doesn't take a lunch break. She takes the entire day off.
And the thing is that the thing is they go to
She would be fired.
I know exactly. You go to a bank, you're like, I'm going to take the whole afternoon off from like 12 to
She
whatever.
doesn't tell the friend that, though. She's like, I'll see you after lunch. The next day, the friend should say, I realize lately you've been extremely horny. But here's the problem. Not only are you attracted to a guy who's in a Victorian suit with a mustache and glasses and he's short.
Who's very weird.
And he's very odd. But you also lied to me and you took the entire day off when you said you're going to lunch and you saw a film.
And I had to punch out for you. It was really it was awkward.
Well, I want you to meet him. Could you come for dinner Friday night around 7?
And the friend, by the way, spoiler alert, gets horribly, horribly murdered by Jack the Ripper later on.
Yeah, so basically, Amy's horniness is responsible for her friend's shitty workday and horrific end to her life.
You may just die of envy.
By the way, one of my first laughs in the movie was also when he's telling her the obvious ways that an automobile works.
The right pedal causes us to accelerate, while the left retards our speed.
Of course. Honestly, Herbert, you act as though you've never been in a car before.
They obviously like each other.
Yeah.
They end up back at her place.
Again, it's the chemistry between Malcolm McDowell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Steenburgen.
It's evident.
I think that is the movie to me, is
Yeah.
a big part of it anyway,
Yeah.
is both the chemistry of him and David Warner.
Yeah.
And him and Mary
Yeah.
Steenburgen. There's this great scene with Stevenson meeting her at the bank.
Yes. He's wearing totally modern clothes. He's wearing like a denim suit,
He's adapted.
gold chains. He's like embracing the 70s while like Wells is like still sticking to his
Victorian
clothes.
attire.
He's adapting. He's ready to be a killer.
Yeah.
He's ready to be a wolf in
So-
the fold.
Everybody keep back! I'll kill her! I'll kill her!
The entity would be as a hungry wolf in that fold.
She tries to stall, saying like, I need to go check exchange rates. She calls Wells at her apartment. And
He's here.
It's a funny scene because he still doesn't quite understand how phones work.
Yeah.
Herbert, it's me.
Amy has gone back to the desk with Dr. Stevenson.
Where
and
this
she's
is-
trying to keep it like very kind of buttoned down. But at the same time, she goes, did you like the Hyatt? That's what kind of tipped him.
He's like, I'm on to you, lady. And
Yeah.
he walks away, and then suddenly,
There's just one other item. Be good enough to leave a message for Mr. Wells from me. Tell him I want that key.
David Warner just can do menacing so well.
Absolutely. We haven't mentioned that Stevenson has been killing in San Francisco.
He's been going to the North Beach, which in the 70s, 80s, it was still kind of like the sex district.
so
of
there
San
have been a few mentions of people murdered.
Because he's from the past, he does not want to go to the police or explain his story because it's so far-fetched.
You gotta go to the police. Now, if you don't, I will, but I don't know what to tell them.
That sculpture that they're in front of is Justin Herman Plaza.
Ah.
And I saw you two do a free show there.
Oh, is that
in
where
high
they
school.
spray painted?
Yep. Fucking Bono is such an ass.
It's completely bananas.
I don't propose to take you any great distance. Suppose we just go forward to this Saturday. How would that be?
Just fine. My cleaning's due back.
He actually has to explain to her who he is and the time machine. And he takes her 3 or 4 days into the future.
Well, we're here.
You still maintain this is all poppycock?
That wasn't exactly the word I had in mind.
They see a headline with her death, her murder.
And it's on the front page.
But it's November 10th, 1979.
Yeah.
And it's shocking. They go back. A pacifist, Wells, has to go out and purchase a gun in a pawn shop. And it's kind of shocking that he realizes this is the violence I'm dealing with.
So the big twist is that even though they think it's her that was slaughtered at her apartment, it's actually not.
It's the friend who covered for her.
I mean, it's obviously not because she wasn't killed.
When she's hiding in the closet, we don't see any of this.
Yeah.
It's implied that he killed her. Wells leaves the police station and finds out that a woman has been murdered at Amy's apartment.
It's the climax, and he's like, hey, give me the key, or or I'm gonna kill Amy right now.
By the way, there's 2 moments where I think he's going to slash her throat, and he doesn't.
I would have expected that you'd notice by now that I am not a gentleman.
But then in the museum, the standoff, he's like, he makes H.G. Wells beg.
And she means that much to you?
Yes.
I'm sorry.
But he doesn't.
Yeah.
So you have this great final moment where he's going to where he thinks he's going to go, which is the time machine.
Yeah.
So back to the museum.
There's a great chase scene in cars too, because Wells has never driven a car. He's just watched Amy driven a car, and so he's sideswiping cars
She's
left and
driving
right.
her crappy Honda
I
Civic.
know, which was one of my first cars. He's got the time machine. Although, Stevenson heard the kind of preliminary kind of explanation on how it works by him at that party.
That one little hook thing.
The hook thing.
And there's something that Stevenson does. He almost kind of goes,
"You won."
Like checkmate.
You've won.
Yeah. It's basically going back to their chess games. It's
I
checkmate.
love that.
It's checkmate.
I love that.
It's a great look by
Great.
Warner.
This plot device, if it's taken out, sends the traveler into
Infinity. Which is kind of in the late 1970s, it sounded cool.
Why that even exists to begin with?
Good quote. You know what it does? It sends the bad guy into oblivion.
Yeah.
It sends Jack the Ripper into oblivion. He wants to go home.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But but at the same time, he loves Amy.
He does.
And
But they already had the conversation where she was like, "Why can't you stay here?"
Yeah.
Also, I think her horniness is at play here.
Yeah. She's in love with him.
Let's go.
I love that they go back in time together. And I really like the outro of the movie.
There's a graphic that says they actually married.
Wells's wife was not an American, so I think she
It's
may
a
have,
stretch,
It's
yeah.
a stretch.
Every age is the same. It's only love that makes any of them bearable.
I really like this movie. There's a lot of flaws which we've gone into.
Which I think is true of any
yeah.
time travel movie.
Maybe from the lens of 2026, it looks kind of hokey or whatever.
Yeah.
I like it.
It's a movie that covers, it does a very good balance. Comedy, drama, sci-fi fantasy, action adventure.
I don't think this was a massive hit, like
No.
box office wise.
I don't think it
but
wasn't.
like critics wise.
Amidst of all the science fiction apparatus and Jack the Ripper's attack on the women of San Francisco, the awkward love affair between Malcolm McDowell and Mary Steenburgen is just plain sweet and charming. Well, don't give away the ending.
No, it's a strong picture. It really is.
I want to compare this a little bit to the Philadelphia Experiment because it's a similar it's a similar fish out of time story.
Wait, hang on. Can we just tell people real quick that the Philadelphia Experiment is a
It's a terrible
shitty
movie.
Yeah.
But I want to compare the writing of Mary Steenburgen's character to the writing of Nancy Allen's character in that.
You're right. The shallowness of Nancy Allen's character in that.
She has no character.
She has no character.
Yeah.
Compare that to this.
Yeah.
It's like night and day.
What are you guys' final grades on this?
I give this a B+.
I was going to tell you guys I give it a strong B, but after this discussion, it elevates a little. I'm going to give it a B+ as well.
I know Joe Perry in 10 Years Old, I would have said A. Joe Perry in 2026, I'm going to say B+.
It's got plot holes.
Which every time travel movie does have.
Yes.
If you are fans of Back to the Future series, I think you would appreciate Steenburgen's role in Back to the Future 3
Love that she
by
does
watching this.
Do you think Zemeckis hired her because of this movie?
Yeah, I think that it is kind of a nice little motif. You know,
Maybe.
she's this woman that falls in love who's had to either go to the future in Back to the Future 3 with Doc Brown or go back to 1893's London with H.G. Wells.
Maybe Zemeckis said, I need an actress with time travel experience. What the hell? What am I?
Who could that be? You'd be great. Back to the Future 3 is if Mary Steenburgen's character took the afternoon off to actually show Doc Brown around.
It'd be funny if one of her friends in the Old West was like, "You are so fucking horny. You're the horniest person I know."
If there is to be a brave new world, our generation is going to have the hardest time living in it.
One other item. Leave the key.
I started laughing.